Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and in this video I'm going to be going over all of the differences between the Yamaha PSR-E473 and the Yamaha PSR-EW425. These two keyboards are almost identically the same. They have the same keybed, the same user interface, same styles, connectivity, functionality, etc. But there are some differences, so in hopes of helping you decide between these two, let's check those differences out. Okay, so first things first, prices. The current price difference between these two keyboards is about $100 US. The E473 is currently selling for about $400 US, and the EW425 sells for about $500 US, so keep that in mind as I go through the other differences between these two keyboards. So the obvious difference is the PSR-E473 has 61 keys, and the PSR-EW425 has 76. The extra keys are super nice to have, but they do come at a bit of a portability cost. Both of these keyboards are portable, but they are also both kind of bulky and heavy compared to the competition for keyboards that have non-weighted synth action keys. The PSR-E473 weighs about 15.5 pounds and is 39 inches wide by a pretty deep 16 inches and a really thick 5.5 inches. The PSR-EW425 is about 3 pounds heavier at about 18 pounds. Same depth and thickness, but the extra keys obviously make it wider at about 47 inches. So apart from these obvious differences, what about sounds? The sounds are almost identical on these two boards, but there are a couple of minor differences. The first one, to be quite honest, I'm not sure I understand. For some reason, Yamaha included a different second piano voice on the E473 than on the EW425. These two keyboards both have the same main piano voice, the Live Concert Grand, which really is a fantastic piano sample for keyboards in this price range. But the second piano voice on the PSR-E473 is an older grand piano sample, actually inherited from the E473's predecessor, the E463. This sample has been in the PSR-E series for probably about 10 years or so now. On the EW425, for the second voice, you get a live grand piano sample, which is much newer and much better. I'm not quite sure why Yamaha did that, but to be honest, I'm not sure it's the end of the world. I own this PSR-EW425, and when I play piano, I pretty much exclusively use the main voice anyways. I never even bother with that second voice. And the main voice is the same on both of these keyboards. Here's a quick example of the main piano sample that's the same between these two keyboards and the second piano tone, which is different between these two keyboards. Okay, so another difference in the sounds is subtle, but it is there. On the PSR-EW425, the first 10 organ tones are slightly upgraded from the equivalent tones on the PSR-E473. They are both sampled, at least I'm pretty sure, from the Yamaha YC series of organs. But the samples on the EW425 include some additional detail in the form of key on and off clicks, as well as leakage. Now, I'm not an organ specialist, but over the last year or so, I have taken quite an interest in Hammond organs, and I have owned organ clones from Hammond, Yamaha, Studio Logic, and Viscount. So my ears have been getting some valuable organ experience. But that being said, these differences are pretty subtle, and to be honest, I can hear a difference when I play the two keyboards back and forth, but I find it hard to put it into words other than it just sounds a tiny bit more detailed and a tiny bit better on the EW425. If I wasn't playing these back and forth and immediately comparing them to each other, would I be able to listen to one or the other and tell you which keyboard I'm listening to? Probably not. I'll demo some of these organs back and forth on both of these keyboards, so listen closely and see if you can hear a difference. Okay, so now on to one of the big differences between these two keyboards, and that is the amplification. The PSR-E473 and EW425 both have two 12-centimeter diameter speakers, but where they differ is the amplification. The PSR-E473 speakers are driven by two 6-watt amplifiers for a total of 12 watts. The PSR-EW425 speakers are driven by two 12-watt amplifiers for a whopping total of 24 watts. For portable keyboards, both of these outperform the competition by quite a bit, in my opinion. Their speakers are clear, loud, and they don't distort even at high volumes. But the question here is, are the 24-watt speakers on the PSR-EW425 twice as loud as the 12-watt speakers on the PSR-E473? Definitely not, but they are considerably louder, and they also sound even better. The E473 speakers do have a lot more EQ range than most of the competition does, so highs and lows that are clear. But the extra amplification on the EW425 allows those speakers to project an even wider and even clearer EQ range. The EW425 speakers produce a warmer and fuller, super clear sound throughout the entire keyboard range, but especially in the lower end of the EQ range, where the EW425's bass response is just far better than the E473's. Here's a demo of the speakers. I usually record speaker demos with my iPhone's built-in mic, but this time I'm using my dynamic mic to try and best capture the differences. So speakers on these two models, the PSR-E473s really are awesome. They outperform pretty much any of the competition I've reviewed, but the PSR-EW425s take that speaker performance to the next level with significantly more volume and far better bass response. Most portable keyboards in this price range are unlikely to have enough speaker power to use even in a low volume performance like a cafe, and they're going to require external amplification. And most of those competitor speakers are also probably not even going to be likely loud enough to provide decent volume to be used as monitors. But the PSR-E473 could probably pull those things off, and the PSR-EW425 almost definitely could, especially providing decent monitors during a performance like that. But those bigger amplifiers do come with a tiny bit of a price, which is the next difference I want to talk about, and that is the power required to drive those bigger amplifiers. The PSR-EW425 not only requires a different, more powerful and larger power adapter at 16 volts, as opposed to the standard 12-volt adapter required by the PSR-E473, but if you want to use batteries instead, the PSR-EW425 requires 6 of the larger size and less common D-size batteries, as opposed to 6 AA batteries that you can use to power the PSR-E473. So not a huge deal, but D-size batteries are definitely much less common nowadays and more expensive, so maybe that's an issue for you. So that's pretty much it for the differences between these two keyboards. Hopefully that will help you with your buying decision. For me, I personally think the extra $100 is a small price to pay for those fantastic sounding speakers and the extra 15 keys alone. As far as the extra improved piano voice and the enhanced organ voices, those are a nice bonus as well, but for me the main factors are definitely the speakers and the number of keys. And since both of these keyboards are a tad bulky and heavy as it is already, the extra width and 3 pounds on the 425 isn't really a big deal for me. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found the content useful. If so, please feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. It does really help me out. I've left a link in the description to my main review on these keyboards, as well as links to check out current prices in your area. And as always, links to check out online piano training that I highly recommend that worked really well for me. So thanks again for stopping by. Happy piano and keyboard shopping, and have an awesome day.